Welcome to Not Parenting. This is Carrie. Let's get untangling.
So here we are in our last episode, our wrap-up episode. And I've got to say that even though we've been friends, I have been a student of yours, you have been a part of our family for over a decade, the way that we've been able to lay out everything that you stand for, everything that you've gleaned over decades of your experience working with families, I've never had it all so packaged so beautifully and clearly than we have now. And it's just been such a gift and such a journey.
Yeah, I feel the exact same. I really feel like this has allowed me to lay out really the philosophy of what I believe is possible in family life. And as you live and love with these humans that are growing, there's a lens and a perspective shift and a way of operating that allows for it to be messy, of course, and challenging at times, but the awareness of, wow, look at us, and like, ooh, yum. How do we like savor this? How do we really be present with it? And I genuinely believe that these ideas and the tools that I teach and giving people opportunities to get to know themselves while they're knowing their people, I'm honored. Like I am truly honored. And to have had the opportunity to just share all of this is just such a gift. So thank you, Kristen.
Oh man, it's just been so great for me to be steeped in it again with you. Like, it's just like, yes, I can feel my parenting and my relationship with my kids just in this time that we've been working on this together is transformed again. And I know I said this to you offline, but I said, I'm so excited that this just lives here now and that I can come back and revisit it again and again and again, because it's vast. You know, we covered a lot of territory over these 8 episodes. Yeah. And so my hope for this last episode, this sort of wrap up episode, was so that we could kind of journey through that again and give everybody kind of a bullet out reminder of like, this is where we've been and this is what's possible. So let's start off with, in the very first episode, kind of the big aha for me, the big takeaway is, this is not parenting. This is relationing. This is relationships. Yeah. Let's touch on that.
Yeah, that's the premise. That's where we started with this whole thing. That's, you know, the meaning behind not parenting is this idea of you are welcome and allowed, and I give you full permission, not that anybody needs it, to step off of the idea that somehow you are the parent of this person, which you are. We call you a parent. But the relationship with this other human, soul to soul, heart to heart, human to human, is what this is really all about. And so my hope is that that relieves some of the pressure and that you really walk your path with these people, recognizing that, you know, you are invaluable to them and they're invaluable to you on some level because you're growing each other, you're learning together, you're unfolding as the yous that you are through this relationship. And so I just love that reminder to everybody that, you know, they're not a child, they're a person. And in a very short amount of time, they're going to be adulting and you're going to have relationships with them much longer as adults than you will ever as children. So what are you investing in now? What are the ways that you're relating? What are the things that you value that you're living? What are the languages, not just the verbal languages, but all the languages that you're choosing to speak with them, through them, in the relationship with them, that's going to set a foundation for their humanity, for them moving out into the world beyond the family unit. And when you think of it more as a relationship that's mutual and they're growing you equally as much as you're growing them in some ways, that's a different way of orienting. So that's what I'm really inviting through this philosophy.
Yeah. And a key point that we went to next in the second episode was this idea that yes, we're in relationships with these other human beings, but we're really in relationship with other nervous systems. It's like two nervous systems get together and they go have a relationship. And I thought that was a really important thing to touch on because developmentally, we're not necessarily on the same page. Well, we aren't on the same page. And so let's talk a little bit about the tangles that happen because we're dysregulated. We're not two nervous systems at the exact same stage in our development.
No, not at all. So here you are, the adult human, the parent person, and you're a human. As much as you want to feel like you've got it all together, there's just limited resources within ourselves for handling what comes at us. And so that's something that I think can just shift something in our brains in itself. Just the idea of like, oh, right, I have a certain amount of fuel that I get to use throughout the day. And when it drains, I get overdone and I'm not in the place of operating as consciously or as presently as I might want to. And I might fall into some old reactive patterns because the way that my nervous system handles stress is usually how it was handled around me when I was growing up. So you wired in some of the patterns that you learned, and what an exciting thing that you get to change that. It's never static. You can always be evolving and learning new ways. So that's one of my challenges for people is to get curious about how your nervous system works, because while your people are growing, while they're in these more immature phases of development in childhood and toddlerhood and teenhood and all of the developing years, the growing years, they're using up a lot of their emotional juice out there. So when they come back to you, they're not coming with their most fueled self. They're coming back to get fueled because the relationship is something that provides them with emotional energy. And so you recognizing that, you're one of their resources and you're also your own resource, you really want to stay present to what do I need to be present? What do I need to feel like I have enough in me to access this bigger version of considering this relationship versus I just need that little person to stop doing whatever they're doing so I don't have to feel this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it tied so beautifully into the next episode about self-awareness because that ability to tune back into ourselves and go, whoa, I am dysregulated, or whoa, she is dysregulated.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about this idea of like self-care being these pauses so that we can come back to ourselves, these homecomings where we can be like, ooh, I'm topsy-turvy. I'm all tangled up right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's like when we can start to come home, I love what you just said. And I would add this idea of coming back to ourselves, like reeling it in, having a certain level of presence of mind and heart and soul to be like, okay, here I am. And as you just said, that requires a pause. That requires some time where we're not on. I use the metaphor of closing the tabs and shutting the computer, like of this mechanism of our brain. How often do we shut it all down so that we can just be with ourselves and start to hear not only when we're off or when we're feeling emotional, whatever that might be for you, or when we're having that little moment of knowing where something might have us tangled. In my personal experience and in the work I've done with lots and lots of parents all over the world, it's that sense of making space and hearing something from within that's a lot deeper than the thoughts, and it transcends even the emotional experience you're having. But it's that true knowing of, this is the direction, or this is the thing I need to offer them. But that only can really emerge when we've taken some time to both check in and steady ourselves. Like that's the other piece of it, is that when the nervous system is revved, when we're overdone, we're making our nervous system have to handle a lot. And so that deeper knowing isn't the first thing that pops through. Often it's the tangles in the thoughts of what am I doing wrong? What is going on with them? All the stuff that can really start going when our thoughts get going, that's really a function of how regulated or dysregulated we are. So learning these practices of pausing, of settling ourselves, of knowing what steadies us, of knowing what even fuels us, and knowing what it takes to add energy into our system so that we can, so that's where, self-awareness and self-care are kind of one and the same. That it's one thing to do things that add energy, but when you're self-aware and you really have a deeper sense of what fulfills, what fully fuels you as a human, that becomes a beautiful game to be playing, because you're just going to know more about yourself. And in doing that, you're going to show up more presently with your people.
And I loved that where we went in the next episode, specifically about fear, and realizing that that's a huge source of dysregulation. It's a huge source of tangling. This idea that mostly in our subconscious selves, we can get really triggered. And with our toddler, a thought like, oh my gosh, everyone's judging me. Or with our teen, what kind of adult are they going to be? Like, this fear is kind of this low hum in the back of our lives if we're not paying attention to it. So we talked about transcending fear. So take us back there to some of the ideas that you brought forth about how we navigate what can feel like a really scary, gotta get this right, white knuckly experience of parenting.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this one since we had our chat. And it really, I think I still hold this idea that there's more than we think to be unpacked. There's the love and the deep, 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 deep desire for this person that you love so much to have a satisfying, fulfilling life. It's such a primal experience to welcome and love a child. And then your whole rest of your life with them is letting go and trusting them and having faith. So there's just the bigness of that. And then there's the noise of the world at the moment, which has a lot of people saying, do it this way, try it this way, offer, this is what it looks like when it's all, buttoned up. And then there's just our own wounds that are getting poked, our knots that are from a long time ago. And I love that idea that when you start to notice the fear, which might be a visceral feeling of a low hum of, energy inside of you, or it might start kicking on thoughts, what if negatives, things that you're fearing, that you're afraid of. In my dream world, and this is probably a decades long, if not lifetime practice, it's really learning how to stop in that moment and really tend the self. So here I put my hand on my heart and I actively say, stop, pause. There's my thoughts taking me on a ride about something that I have no information about. I'm just spinning out. So what do I need? Oh, that might be my nervous system telling me I'm overdone, or I need to go rest, or I need to get some food in me. And so the fear is there. It's going to creep up. So what if we use it as an opportunity to really hear something deeper in ourselves than just to wish it away or think it's wrong or not know what to do about it? So it can be thought of as a little gentle alarm system that's tapping you on the shoulder going, hey, like, let's get some perspective here. You're having a hard time. What do I need? Versus, oh no, where's this going with them? And how's this going to unfold? Because what I see is whatever stage they might be in, if you tend to be an anxious parent, you're going to find things that are going to unnerve you at any stage. So if you look at it from the bigger perspective, that's not serving you or the relationship. So it's the parent's responsibility to take some agency and really start to examine, like, oh, is there another way? Is there a way I could experience this differently or play with it differently? Or do I need to dig in a little deeper into like, what's really at the root of this? Where does this stem from? It's often, I'm not the fear of I'm not enough, or the fear that you're not safe. And when you can get under that and really transcend that and go, well, let me really look at that. Because if I were to really believe that I'm enough, who would I be in the world? And what would I be offering my people if I genuinely could find those moments of authentically feeling like, yeah, this is good. We're here. I'm helping these people grow. And it doesn't always look pretty. And they're going to go through their own stuff that will challenge you to believe that. But I mean, what an opportunity to hold one's self more compassionately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the big takeaway for me in that episode was I don't like the way I'm parenting when it's coming from fear. I'm controlling. I'm trying to be right. I'm forcing my way. And it was interesting. We just, as a family, we had a big tangle yesterday, and I was able to reflect on it afterwards because I was really tangled up in it.
Yeah.
And on a walk with Mark, was able to really see like, whoa, not only am I being driven by, in that moment, fear in this circumstance, but I know there's some old gunk in there, like 30, 40-year-old gunk in there that's coming up, that's getting all tangled up in this circumstance that doesn't belong there. It has nothing to do with what's happening right now. But that really came from having to step back, like you said, seeing those little red flags, like, ooh, this is really tangly. What is going on here? And then getting that perspective, now I can get steady. And from that steady place, start to, with confidence, think, okay, what is my way through? What is our way? And that really brings us to that next episode, was finding your way.
Yeah.
One of the things you said in the very first episode, you said, this isn't the Carrie Conti method. Mm-hmm. And I appreciated that so much, because I think that's what so much parenting dogma does. Do it this way. This 1 + 2 + 3 equals this perfect kid. And in the episode of Find Your Way was really this giant permission slip to say, like, go inside, check in, take a look at who you're on this ride with, and find what works for you, and then stand with that confidently. So how do we do that? Because that's feels very counter, and there's lots of people doing lots of things that wouldn't look like that, and would look at what we're doing and say, what are you doing? And that can be really hard to find your way.
Oh, totally. And I'm not saying this is an act of courage, because it's not the thing that most of us were taught in school. I mean, many of us went to pretty typical schools where it was like, well, here's the assignment. Here's how you do it. Now you do it. Now we grade you. And so the idea that you would be sort of free form, and it's not free form. I'm offering tools upon tools, and we didn't even get to a smidgen of them here, because that's not what the point of this was. But that's what I offer people, is the perspective, but then the practices that really get you there. And the first thing that one cultivates is, one, slowing down and having those moments of space, because through that, you get those inklings, you get those whispers of knowing. And when you're in your knowing, there's no question and there's no fear. There's truth. There's a sense of like, this is what's right for me. This is what I'm going to do to guide these people. When we know that, when we've practiced that, when we've taken the time to develop that part of ourselves, that ability to listen and to create space for the knowing, for the part that's just like, I stand in this, and it's related to what you value. And I see humans almost like mosaics, where there's all these facets and these tiles. And to me, the adventure that I'm inviting people on with this philosophy and with the things that I teach is to be on the journey of collecting, really getting clear on what are my tiles in this experience of being alive. And everybody's is different. And so, I mean, if nothing else, you're modeling a way of walking through adulthood for your people that invites self-awareness and it invites a clarity. And to me, like I've said before in this, going into the future, not knowing where we're heading and how the world is going to unfold, we don't know. Giving somebody an example, a clear modeling, the language, speaking the language and teaching the language of self-knowing and trusting oneself deeply feels like an incredible gift. And you could have no experience of that and you could start walking that path right now and just being open to this idea of, oh, okay, I'm creating a relationship with this person. They're in these developmental phases that I'm going to be rattled by. They're going to show me where my knots are. So my work is to get clear on my boundaries and what I believe, and then hold those, and then hold the person when they're having a hard time, which is going to require resourcing in me, emotional energy, so I don't fall off the cliff with them. So we don't get tangled. And when we inevitably do get tangled, I have skills and awareness to see what that was really all about, and then go back and do a do-over or call for repair or try something different next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love how you said that. It's an act of courage. It's this grand adventure. But in the next episode, you really put forth this sort of mode of travel, and that is being an experimenter, being this curious researcher. Why does that perspective or that way of, that approach make such a difference when we're heading off maybe into uncharted territory as a family?
Well, because we're creatures of habit, and most of us got to adulthood doing a lot of the same things that we've always done. And some of that was stuff that was done around us by the people that cared for us. And some of it was just part of who we are. And when you have this new human arrive, or multiple children people arrive, some of the stuff that you've been doing might work really well, but a lot of it won't. And a lot of what they're going to show you is, oh, that's not the best way to do this, or that's not the most you way of doing this. So experimenting to me is really operating with this spirit of possibility, and that there might be something, so it's almost a paradox again. It's like, know yourself, but also let go of what you think you know and experiment. And so it's this, I love that. It's a mode of travel of both finding your own way and modeling doing that with the people that you're caring for. And to grow up in an environment where the people around you, the adult people around you, use those kinds of words like, I don't know, let's experiment. Like, oh, maybe we're going to go on a different way to grandma's today, and let's see what that brings. Or we're going to do mealtime totally differently than we've done it. Or let's try something different this morning, since it's not working with me freaking out and you all having a kind of a cranky morning. Like, let's do this differently. Let's try something we haven't tried. Let's experiment.
One of the things I've loved about this time that we've spent together is that we haven't shied away from this idea that, and sometimes it just sucks. Sometimes the days are hard and long, and everyone's nervous system just goes down the toilet. And so in the last episode, we took a deep dive into love and appreciation and savoring as maybe at times the antidote to a tough day, but also a mode of travel.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about your thoughts on appreciation specifically, and this idea of like how much it matters to just look for what's good.
Oh man, that's so that just hits my heart just to hear that, like looking for what's good. So since we recorded that episode, I've really been thinking about this idea of like love, like making love the center of this family life, these relationships. And if you really pull back the scope, and I know this is not the experience for everybody, but the majority of humans that exist on this planet are the product of love. They're the product of a sexual, passionate experience of coming together, two people. Again, not everybody's came in that way, but we can speak a little generally here. And the passion, like, what is it to be passionate about these people and this experience of aliveness that you're in. And I heard somebody yesterday and I thought it was brilliant. They said, life's not a journey. It's an odyssey, that you're on this I know. Isn't that good?
Oh gosh.
I was getting my hair cut and the guy said, I was having this conversation with a friend and he said this. And I thought, that's brilliant. Like, it's an odyssey. It's an unknown, uncertain quest for more of yourself. And you gather these people, whether they come through you or you find them in other ways, specifically to help you along this journey, this adventure, this odyssey of life. And it's wild. It can be really strange and messy and confusing and activating and evocative. And yet there are moments of pure bliss and pure love and pure hilarity and pure connection. And when you can notice and appreciate and give it that pregnant pause of like, oh, look at us right now.
Yeah.
And then you just like, you savor it. You let it be in your whole body and your whole heart. And you let that activate something inside of you. It's transformative. And it's not going to be that every minute. It might not even be that every day. It might not even be that every month. But when you can really invite yourself to make enough space to say, all right, here we are. This is it. This is what I'm doing. These are who's here. This is the adventure we're on. All right, I'm going to find the micro little beads and string them on the necklace and try to be here because it is fleeting. It is a small amount of time that you get to be in this kind of relationship with these humans before they go off. Because here's the thing. Yes, they came to you. And I do believe there's some bigger message in who arrives and who you get to travel with in these, as they develop. But they came to live their life. They didn't come to be your child. And so when you hold that and you hold them in your heart, but also let go. So it's a paradox because it's like, give them love and be there and be present, but also just keep letting go because that's their drive. Their drive is away. The first 9 years is kind of tuck in and attach and get clear on what you're here to do and how you're with these people. And then your second 9 years of life is you're walking slowly out into the world beyond life with these people. And so that requires a lot in a parent person. And if you can, if you were to think your way through it, it would be scary. But if you can feel the love that it is and the mystery and the magnificence and the way that it will blow you open and challenge you to operate on different frequencies with yourself and with your people, it's the ultimate game of growth out there.
It is. I've been thinking a lot about how there's so much research and books and luminaries on child development. And what you're doing, this like revolution, I feel like that you're starting is that what we're talking about is parent development and not just me as a parent. Like, how do I parent differently with more awareness, with more steadiness, with more clarity, with more confidence? But also, I'm in this role now called a parent, and it's pushing me to develop in ways that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do otherwise. And so I'm growing and I'm falling over and I'm being challenged and I'm seeing things differently and I'm getting better, not just for them, but for me. And so this concept of parent development, which is what you do, is in many ways new. It's new territory. And yet it's what you've been doing all these decades with families. Share a little bit about the importance of parent development, what this thing is, what it looks like when they do it with you, and then let's talk about some of the things that you offer.
Beautiful. I mean, I love how you say that. And it really did kind of click something in my brain when you brought it up, this idea of parent development. And it's not parenting development. It's not about, it is, you're going to learn. I do teach very practical skills that parents can use in the relationships with their people. But to me, it's like you're getting on this ride of, you're welcoming these people into your life, and you're now not just learning about them, but you're being invited and in some ways required to learn more about yourself. So you're really, in some ways, riding two rails at the same time, where your heart and soul and body and mind is concerned and invested in this person, these people growing. And what I think you and I are unfurling through what we're doing together is the recognition that in order to really be in it with them, you really are continuing to develop yourself, and that developing an understanding of your nervous system and getting really clear on what you believe so you can own the ways and the choices that you're operating with your people. And, understanding what fuels you both for the short term to handle all that you need to do and the knots that get, tangled and being able to untangle them, but also so that you're modeling fulfillment. You're modeling a sense of, okay, here I am. This is what I'm investing my time and energy into now. And I recognize that this is a phase. This is a season that I'm in, and that's going to keep changing. So I'm going to keep developing so that by the time you're ready to go do your thing, child person, I'm aware of what I'm going toward too. And so then we're two adults living their own satisfying lives, knowing themselves, and the relationship will endure because the child people they at some point aren't looking for their parent to the extent. They're looking for a partner in life who knows them deeply. There's no way a parent knows their child so deeply, but they're not looking to be parented. They don't want to have you doing the things that you did when they were little. They want a relationship. And if you're continuing to develop yourself, that's going to be effortless. That's going to be what unfolds, because there's going to be a sense of, wow, we're on this lifelong journey together as people.
So at any given time, whether you're listening to this in 2023 or 2033, someone can go to carrieconti.com and get resources and sign up for whatever live programs you've got going, whatever on-demand programs you've got going. And yeah, that's just always going to be there. I mean, you've created such incredible content over the years and have found a way to offer it in all different ways for people, that this idea of parent development is not it's not a concept. Like, this is actually here, available, like, go get it kind of thing. It's so great.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is, anytime we want to develop ourselves in any way, whether it's art or sport or a language, it is so invaluable to have a coach, to have somebody who's offering ideas and cheering you on and inviting you to do some drills and practice some things and get out there. And, I can offer ideas that might not always be accessible when you're in that day to day. And so these almost like a little tune-up station, or I call it I'm like a recalibration station, that for some people, just hearing my voice and just hearing some of the reminders that I offer. That's the last thing I want to even say on this is what I believe is that the stuff that I'm sharing, you already know. I'm just reminding you, I'm just turning you back toward yourself so you can access it. So yes, there's skills to be learned and there's practices to do, but the inherent knowing of, right, this is a relationship. Treat this person with respect and I will get respect back. I can't expect to get it. I have to pour in a lot of what I'm looking to get from this relationship for a long time because of the development that this person's having to do. But my goodness, it's worth it because it does emerge and you do get it at some point where you turn around and you've got a person who is saying some of the things about empathy or acting in empathetic ways or compassionate ways that you've been doing with them for years. And so it's an investment. And I want people to know that there's support for this, that it's not just like, okay, good luck, go have a great life. Here, I gave you these ideas. It's like, no, come, I'm inviting you in to join me to develop. Like any career you have, you would be investing in development. And I'm inviting you to invest in your parenthood development.
I love it. Yeah. And I can just say, as someone who has done that with you several times, and all the goodies and how it just has stayed in my brain, like there's some earworms that have gotten in there that I've shared with you over the years of like, oh yeah, you were right there. I heard you right in my ear. It's like that great little angel on the shoulder. So yeah, it has been an investment that we've made in our parenting, that is in our parent relationships with these child humans, that it's just been invaluable.
I've got an 8-week course called Not Parenting coming up. And it's designed to meet you where you are. So if you're parenting through toddlerhood, through childhood, tweenhood, or teenhood, there's going to be a way that the examples I use and the information I share is going to be relevant to you and your family. And it's really designed to take you deeper, to help you integrate this information that I've been sharing through the podcast. All you need to do is just get on my list. So go to my website and add your name and you'll get some free goodies out of that. And I'll be in touch. It starts the beginning of March, 2023. And it's going to be a deep dive. It's going to really help participants embody this philosophy that I've shared and really give you practical tools and experiments to run so that you truly can make this family life and your parenting development your own.
So Carrie, I get to ask you just one final question in this mini series that we've done together. And that is, what is your hope? Like, what is your vision for what's possible for parents when they get on this ride, especially with you?
Yeah, it's really clear in me. It's that people really deeply know and trust themselves, and that they feel clear on what's essential for their own well-being. What is it that fuels me? What is it that I source from? It's having that awareness in oneself, but also understanding human development, that these people are going through phases of development that require so much energy, and it's going to look messy at times. But when you can trust that and you can see how they are unfolding, it becomes really exciting. And then the realization that they're always there. The big being in the little body is always there, that you're traveling with another soul who is here to have their own experiences. And they're there, they're awake and they're alive to it, and they are here to thrive. And then ultimately that parents feel confident and well equipped to skillfully guide these people, that they trust that they're the guide. They're the one traveling with this person. And yes, life is going to be messy and there's going to be uncertainty and unknowns, but standing in that true knowing, that trust and faith that you're the one that gets to travel and the journey will be what it is. And that, you are adding a lot to this person's experience just by being who you are. So those are really the vision. It's like, let's create a world where parents feel confident and calm and clear, and they feel skillful at how they're relating while these people are growing, so that ultimately there's a really beautiful and maybe not perfect, but honest relationship that emerges from that.
When I get into a bit of a mental tailspin of like, what a world, oh my gosh, what a world, and not in like a good way, sometimes what I can rest on is, all right, I'm going to do my best to bring this human being right here that I'm embodying into the world in a way that doesn't add more gunk. And I'm going to do my best with my parenting partner to bring 2 more human beings into the world that aren't adding any more negativity, any more gunk, but actually maybe are adding more light, more love, more possibility. And it feels like, okay, I can do that. Like
yeah,
I'm not going to solve all the problems of the world, but I'm ushering in some pretty great human beings, and maybe they'll solve all the problems of the world. I don't know. Maybe.
They're
not going to add to them, though.
Fun. What a beautiful vision to hold of like, okay, if I can learn about me and I can get aligned in what I'm about and actually like myself and have compassion and find the place of, wow, look at me doing humanhood. And then I'm willing to connect with these other people and get to know who they are and be curious about what they're passionate about and what they want their lives to unfold into. And really remember that, like, we're here and there's always been things that make us feel like, this is not so good. And yet we endure and people keep showing up and things keep changing. And so, I am an optimist. I really genuinely think that the more conscious we get and the more aware and the more love we start to open up to, things can be really beautiful. So let's roll that die and see where it takes us.
I love it. Well, the thing you said right at the beginning of this podcast miniseries was, let's get untangling. And we did. There's so much got untangled in these 8 episodes, and I loved it all, and I'll miss this so much. So what a joy it's been to be with you. I'm so immensely grateful.
Thank you, Kristen. It was an honor. I loved every second of it. So thank you.
Me too. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Not Parenting. For any resources or offerings we spoke about in the episode, remember you can head to carrieconti.com or you can click on the links in the episode show notes. Thanks for being here.